Great to have you here with us on City Life. Today on the program, we talk about the effects of anxiety on our love lives, stress and burnout in the workplace. We talk to St John about the number of calls they're responding to and how we manage our money with the book, The Money Map. But first, Antony Gough, good to have you here.
Hi there.
Now, how's the CBD looking at the moment?
Well, it was a little white. We changed from the red zone to the white zone, as we all said.
Yeah.
But it's come back to life. Demolition stopped at the beginning of the week, but they're back in full force. So some parts of demolition you can see outside the red zone. Others are inside the zone. Today I'm going to talk about a couple of buildings one that you can see from near the Bridge of Remembrance that looks as though it's had a bomb hit it, and all the furniture's in the building, and that's a really interesting one.
I know the exact one you're talking about because I saw a photo of it with the snow covered over it. It just looked incredible.
Well, it's now got all the side missing, and all the furniture's in there because they're not able to retrieve anything because it's so dangerous. And then another building, which is a hotel of mine, which is an 8-storey hotel called Poplars, and it's got an Oasis restaurant. We were able to prop it. It's coming down, hasn't yet, but we spent about 4 days emptying the whole building, and that's really quite a process to do that, because obviously there's no power in the buildings, lifts don't work or anything else, so you smash windows out of the side of the building and you're frantically loading a crane with it, what we call a man cage, and that's a really interesting thing to do. But the demolitions in the centre city are running at a huge pace now. There's stuff happening everywhere. Did
the snow delay any of the progress?
Yes, it did. Shut it down for a couple of days.
Okay, and so you're now behind schedule?
Yes. No, well, it's schedule is a flexible feast.
Yeah, but when I talk schedule, I'm always talking about restart 2019-11.
Right.
Is it still looking like we're going to?
Yes, we'll start that. It's just may not have as much open as we'd like.
Okay.
But it certainly will be open. Valentine's will be open. We're hoping as many shops as we can. Okay. We're also hoping that we've actually got some temporary retail. We've got a whole lot of shipping containers on the ocean at the moment. Didn't get stopped by the snow.
Good.
So they're coming this way, and we'll be cutting the sides out of those and making them into temporary retail. It'll be really exciting times.
Yeah, that is great. All right, I know you've brought some photos, and we don't want to waste a minute more. Let's have a look at them.
First photo we've got here, this is actually the Poplars, and you can see there's a man cage on the side on a big crane.
Yeah.
You'll see that's where we load everything in. So if we just flip through these, inside this building, you actually damage columns and that you actually have to do a temporary prop. So those columns there, they'll take 10 tonnes, that set of columns. That room actually is Sonny B. Williams' room. We weren't allowed to say that before now, but he's no longer in the building. We housed him while
Sonny Bill Williams.
Sonny Bill Williams, the footballer.
He lived there?
Yes, he lived in the Poplars, level 3.
Oh, wow.
So that's where his home was for the last 8 or so months.
Incredible.
So
those metal poles, they're bracing the building? They're
propping the building.
Oh, propping up. Okay.
So that allowed us to get in and retrieve most things out of it. Okay. So we'll show you how we did it. So here you can see all the washing machines and dryers. This building was an apartment hotel. That means you got a full apartment with everything in it, including full laundries, kitchens, separate living quarters. Really nice, and they're let on a daily basis. So those are some of the washing machines and dryers you can see. And then, once we get them from there, we'll take that. You can see they're out on the road. There we've got cardboard boxes popping everything into. There's some of my helpers there. As you can see, pressed down into it in one form or another.
So they are trying to retrieve as much as they can from the hotel rooms?
Yes.
To use, okay,
yes.
Good.
So and then we'll be selling that off.
Okay, good.
And there you can see, there's the man cage, and you've got Pam there, the redhead on the left. So we're emptying all the things out of that there. And I think that might be a fridge that's standing up there.
Oh, yes.
And there's a seabed container there. We've filled 3 40-foot containers and a 20-foot container, and I've got a whole lot of items at home. So there's a huge amount of things that come on.
Okay.
This is inside the main kitchen of Oasis. You can still see the plated food sitting on the bench there waiting to go out to the customer 5 months ago. So that kitchen we don't have to walk from because it's all contaminated. It smells.
Well, I was going to say, it must reek.
It does. You hold your nose.
Yeah.
Then I also had to go into the basement. The basement was flooded with 2 metres of water. It's since receded. You can carefully look, you'll see everything's floated around in the basement, absolutely stinks. They were scared that I was going to be flake out down there, but I didn't. I was wading through sewage in the basement of that building. So
the thing about you, Antony, is that you actually get in there and do it yourself. It's not just other people doing it for you. You do it yourself as well. I think that's great.
Yeah, so the actual tradesman said, "We're not coming in with you. Just keep talking and don't fall over."
Oh, that's just... Why did you have to go through there?
Because I have to prove to my insurance company what was in there and why we couldn't retrieve it.
Oh, yuck.
So that's all part of it. But it's, you've got to sort of move with the times. This is the sort of equipment they'll use to bring the building down. So those are huge. It's an enormous excavator, and on the end of it are these jaws of life. Except they're not life, they're jaws of death. They will crush concrete, steel and everything else to actually munch the building up as it goes. Now, what they're doing right at the moment, we've emptied everything we could out of the building. Now they're chucking the whole linings of the entire inside of the building so we end up as a concrete shell. So you see all the windows that are now blown out, and they're just throwing everything out the windows. Okay. That actually was taken at about 6 o'clock last night, if you want to know.
Is that Cambridge Terrace?
That's Chester Street East, Oxford Terrace.
Okay.
Corner of Oxford Terrace and Madras, very close to the Centennial Pool. So
right, I know, yeah.
So that's all the innards coming out of the building. There's Oasis Restaurant. Some people may remember that. And there you'll see they've carved the side off it, and this is so they can get access into the building to demolish everything. It's a bit sad when you see the amount of money they've spent on there, about sort of $4 million on upgrades, and it's just crashed to pieces. Yeah. That photo was also taken, it's a night photo, taken with a special camera.
Is that right?
But you can see all the debris off to the side. See, that's all the windows. Every building you can see in that photo along the left will go. There will be no buildings between the Avon River and Latimer Square on that side of the road.
Oh my gosh.
This building, you may recognise the Bridge of Remembrance on the left. That's the DTZ building facing the Avon River.
Yeah.
And everything in that building, I'll show you the next photo. Gives a better view of it. You can see all the furniture and everything's inside the building. It's as though it's been hit by a bomb.
Sure does.
From, overseas. But actually it hasn't. They're smashing the side out of the building because they can't retrieve anything at all from that building. And so they'll then collapse it onto the road towards us. So that's what they're doing right at the moment. So this is the sort of thing that's happening in the centre city. Very tricky demolitions, because right on the right of that, you'll see some apartments, and they'll be staying, so they don't want to knock those over. So they're being very, very careful how they go about it. The building is very unstable.
That's just incredible. Those photos.
Yes, so that's what's happening. Quite tricky demolitions happening in the centre city, but nothing's gone wrong. And those buildings we can get things out of, that's what we're doing. Okay. And I thought it was worth showing with Poplars, just what we went through to get things out of there.
Oh my gosh.
And I lost 1 kilogram of weight doing it in the space of a week.
Really?
Yes.
What, working so hard?
Yes, just day in. And every aftershock, everyone out of the building, and they go and call the engineers and recheck the building, so you wait for 2 or 3 hours. So we had 4 days and many stops in the middle of doing it.
Oh my gosh. So what next for you? I mean, I know you've got a building to come down yet.
Well,
what next?
Well, I don't own the DTZ building, but I do have other buildings that are coming down. We're at the moment assessing other buildings to decide whether they repair or rebuild. Then I'm also very much involved in the restart and getting the centre city alive and running. And you've got the ongoing thing, what do you do with your furniture that's come out of the building? It's not quite at the hotel standard we would have expected it to be by the time it's been through a man cage. And the people who load it on the crates at the top aren't necessarily your furniture removal type
that's
people.
Right, yeah.
You're taking out of broken windows and that sort of thing. But it still looks pretty good. So it's all an ongoing process, retrieving what you can, moving forward, looking forward. There are no building consents being issued in Centre City at the moment because we're all in the white zone. White zone says we don't know whether you can rebuild or not. I can tell you it looks pretty good to me. I have no doubt we'll be rebuilding the Centre City.
What's it like for you, seeing the city like this? I mean, you've loved the city for so long, you own a lot of it. What's it like for you, walking through the city at the moment?
It's you first walk through. You actually drive through, and I'm allowed in 3 blocks in the city. I can drive between the blocks. It's a bit scary. You can't believe the devastation that's there. I would say 80% of the floor area of Centre City will go, so that's an enormous loss. But there's opportunities. I'm sort of getting used to it, I have to say. So, oh yes, there's that familiar building with the veranda missing and the top off the building, and you go past the press building, you see the top floor. It actually collapsed, the whole top floor of the press building. They again can't retrieve anything out of it. So that's the sort of thing that you think, my gosh, this is all going to change.
I know, I mean, money's not, you know, the big thing for you, but will you lose much money, or was it all covered?
We're covered for replacement insurance on everything, but replacement doesn't actually mean replacement. It's a set sum that you've got insured, and because the earthquake codes have increased, you've got to build the building stronger, and because we're working on 2-year-old valuations and prices will have gone up, I expect to be underinsured by at least 20%. And then you've got your loss of rents and loss of profits. There's only 9% of people who have a loss of profits greater than 18 months, and nothing will be built in 18 months. And I have 2 years loss of profits, but that won't cover. So, hey, swings and roundabouts. I always look on the positive side. We'll have a fantastic city out of all of this, and that's what we should look forward to.
Yeah, and what a time in history to remember as well, when you were part of the rebuild of the city.
Yes.
Yeah. Antony, really good to have you on the program today.
Lovely. Thank you very much.
After the break, we catch up with sex therapist Helen Mounsey. You're back with City Life, and welcome back, Helen Mounsey. Now, last time we talked to you, we talked about how sexual relationships have been affected by the earthquake. Now, what are the other things that are helpful for us to know about that can impact our sexual relationships?
Well, sex and sexually relating is such a complex thing, isn't it? Successful sex is far more than getting aroused and having an orgasm. And when you think about it, the way we relate has got a lot to do with the way we've been parented and the families that we've come from, because many of us have come from families where no one spoke about sex. It just wasn't talked about at all. And we don't get those skills naturally. We actually have to learn them. We're meant to know what to do, and often that's very difficult for people because they have a range of experiences, some including abusive reactions to them or abusive backgrounds, and that interferes with the ability to be intimate, because after all, that's really what good sexual relating requires, the ability to be intimate with someone.
Okay. What if we're an anxious person? How can that affect us?
Well, anxiety certainly can get in the way of being anxious, and anxiety can really get in the way of being intimate. And when I speak about intimacy, I'm not meaning just sexual intimacy. Intimacy in general, and that's allowing yourself to be close to a person, to be known to them, to not hold back our feelings, and to be truly connected. And for a lot of people, that's quite a risk. And the risk is that if we let ourselves be known, we might be seen as being wrong or different, and that for many people represents being disapproved of and actually being a failure. And anxious people tend toward that more. They also tend to have high standards to measure up to. They've been brought up with high standards or high expectations, so they're likely to set themselves high standards and set their partners high standards as well. Seeking approval is a common a thing you notice with anxious people. They are wanting more approval and can be very easily find it difficult to be vulnerable.
Okay.
Yes.
What are some of the signs when it's starting to become quite a problem for someone?
Well, I think what you would notice is a partner would be becoming distant in a relationship, closing down on their openness, as it were, not allowing someone to know them well. An anxious person is also, or can be, quite insistent in a relationship, quite insistent in the family wanting perfection, hard on themselves. They can sometimes get irritable when things aren't going well for them. So their anxiety is up. They have sometimes difficulty making decisions. And they have difficulty sometimes with things being unpredictable. They like often to be in control, and of course recent earthquake times have added to that for a lot of people who are wanting things to be, well, we all want things to be predictable, don't we? I think in addition, out there, society has an enormous number of expectations of us, and that adds to people's worry. Anxious people have more worries than normal.
Let's look at these expectations.
Well, I think many of the expectations are actually myths. They're not true and they're not real in life. And I think about the standards that we have set for us about our body, about how it looks and how it performs. One example that I see frequently is the myth about what a real man is. And that if you're a real man, you must be good in bed, you must please your partner, you should have a good, strong erection, and focus on lasting a long time during intercourse. And the outcome of that, of course, is that a lot of men get quite anxious about that, and we call it performance anxiety. Because often what happens is that the penis has a mind of its own. It decides that this pressure to perform is all too much and sometimes will give up. It will arrive too early or fail to arrive at all. And unfortunately, this becomes more than a hiccup for a couple. It can set in as something that becomes a bit of a problem. I think it helps to seek sex therapy and a professional to look at the broader aspects of the relationship to see what underlies this anxiety, where those pressures come from.
Okay.
And it is a myth, what virility means. Sometimes a man hasn't learned how to turn his partner on, that he has this set idea of how he must behave. Women worry a lot too. They have often unrealistic images of their bodies, and as a result are sometimes deeply dissatisfied about how they can't measure up to what's expected of them out there.
All right, so for people to find out more, if they are an anxious person, you do suggest that they seek a sex therapist. How will they get in touch with you or somebody else?
Well, the website, Sex Therapy New Zealand, means for anybody that they can go onto the website and access a well-trained professional sex therapist there. Also available on the website is Robin Salisbury's excellent and well-reviewed book, Staying in Love. That's a very helpful guideline for anyone in relationships who want to learn more about themselves and about their partner.
Okay, so that's sextherapy.co.nz.
.nz.
Helen, really good to have you back on the program.
Thank you.
And we'll be back after this break. Welcome back to City Life. Now, most of us will feel some sort of stress or burnout in our lives, and that's where my next guest, Kate, can help us. Now, tell me about your research.
My research is in relation to workplace stress, obviously, but particularly for human service workers and social workers. They're a group of people who are very involved with helping others, as we know, or attempting to help others in really difficult circumstances. They're not always so good at practicing what they preach and looking after themselves, and so I see that as an important role for me to take.
So
and
that's why you did it?
That's why I did it.
So why did you choose this area?
This area in terms of workplace stress?
Study, yes.
To study. I noticed that even although we know that there's a lot of burnout and workplace stress in social work and social services, there had not been a book on the topic for at least 10 years, for more than 10 years. And a lot's changed. Work's become much faster paced. We have the electronic world, so a lot of people are working at computers, doing their work quite differently. And it was really high time for there to be a book. It was surprising, actually, that there wasn't something, a toolkit or you know, somewhere where all the research was put together.
So who did you research, who did you study for this book?
For this book, I looked at the literature internationally, of course, because the publishers are in the UK, but there were a lot of people in Christchurch keen to talk with me, frontline social workers and managers and supervisors. So I talked with them, but the book's got broader application really to nurses, teachers, anyone really who works with people.
So is it more like a handbook for people?
Yes and no. Yes, it's a handbook. The aim is that to have some advice in it for people, some things that we can actually actively do, but it is very much grounded in research and in theory and literature, but in such a way that it should be enjoyable.
Let's look at some of the things that you found out with your studies.
Yeah. Well, I found out that it is key to have social support. Now, one of the chapters is on community disasters. I wrote it really straight after our earthquake.
In September?
In September, yes. I found it really hard. I was working on another chapter. I found it really hard to concentrate. And I thought, why don't I start my chapter on community disasters right now? But really, in terms of findings around that are relevant, I think, to everyone in our community right now, is social support. It's very, very important in terms of a community disaster. So when everyone or a lot of people are affected, normalising the effects, just really normalising them so that we don't lose our self-esteem. You know, if you're not able to concentrate, that's normal. So that's important. Having fun together, yeah? Okay. Those kinds of things are very important.
So you would suggest, as part of your research, for people to become more social and be part of team sports and how else can they sort of do this kind of thing? What else can they do?
What else can they do? I suppose looking after yourself, I think healthy eating, some exercise, those sorts of things are very important too. So really just basic things for supervisors and managers to check in with their staff. And I think it is difficult right now. People are asked to do a lot more with fewer resources and in unfamiliar places. And I think that's okay for a while when we've got this adrenaline burst and we can, you know, we can do quite a lot with little. But in the long term, we're really going to have to look after people's time management, maybe sometimes accept that we need to do a little less, work-life balance, so people's needs in terms of family, really to look after those kinds of things. Because it's a marathon, it's not a race we're in.
Now, a lot of people in Christchurch will be feeling that, you know, loss and grief. Now, how is this affecting them in their workplaces? Yeah,
I think loss and grief, it's quite interesting that you ask that. I do write about that, in fact, in the book. And I think we have lost a lot. Some of us have lost workmates, haven't we? And that's very difficult. We've lost familiar surroundings. We've lost knowing what's going to come next. So some workplaces we don't know if they'll survive. And I think there's a lot of loss in that and grief and sadness. So just as with any grief, we need to accept that means we'll be sad at times, perhaps irritable.
So if someone is really struggling and they're kind of, there's like workplace bullying and violence maybe, what can they do about it?
Oh, you're suggesting that with the increasing stress, there may be more Aggression.
Aggression
I think we
workplace.
have found that in the home, haven't we? Because the stats on domestic violence have increased. Domestic violence and workplace violence aren't all that different in many ways.
Right.
Where some of us, because I've researched that too, some of us compare those. And so, yes, workplace, I'd maybe call it incivility. Bullying is quite directed, targeted, and it goes on for a long period of time. But I'd say incivility has probably increased. So, and we shouldn't accept that, and managers to be aware, and colleagues to be aware too, so bystanders to be supportive. Often bystanders fall silent.
Right.
And I think colleagues can do a lot in terms of saying, that's not quite acceptable. But also, if we try not to personalise and realise everyone's under quite a lot of stress, and maybe apologise. You know, if I come across more harshly, then I might have intended to say, I'm really sorry. You know, I'm probably under a bit of stress today. Actually, most people will understand that. So I think workplace bullying is a major issue, but whether that's increased or at this point just incivility that we need to watch.
All right. Sounds like a really interesting topic anyway. Now, where can we pick your book up?
You can order the book in any bookseller.
Okay.
Certainly the university bookshop should have copies,
They
but
should.
I believe other major booksellers will also sell it, and of course it's really easily purchased over the internet.
Okay, so you have a website?
No, I don't have a website, but if you Google the title, you'll come up with about, well, I don't know how many hits in terms of being able to purchase it really quite easily, and the bookshops will order it for you.
All right, Kate, really good to have you on the program today.
Thank you.
Now, after the break, Eat So They Can campaign. You're back with City Life, and I'd like to welcome Fiona from the Eat So They Can campaign. Now, tell me all about it. Sounds interesting.
Eat So They Can is a campaign that's been running for about 5 years, since 2007. And the idea behind it is it's a really sort of positive, fun way to raise money for developing countries. Yeah, so the idea is that we recruit hosts and they hold events that could be a meal with friends and family, it could be a concert, it could be anything. We're open to all ideas. And that's to raise funds and raise awareness for what we do.
Okay, so what you do is you host a dinner party, and then people who come along pay some money to be there?
You have a wee donation, or if you're holding a concert, you could charge a ticket price, something like that, yeah.
Okay, so, and it's going to be held around World Food Day, is that about that time?
Yeah, hosts can hold an event any time during the year, but we kind of lead up to the weekend of October 15th and 16th, because that coincides with the World Food Day, held by the UN, and we have a special consultative status with the UN Economic and Social Council, so that's really cool as well.
All right, so this isn't the first time you've done this. Tell me about last year.
Last year we raised $179,000, which was really cool. We had events on all 7 continents, including Antarctica, so that was a first, which is really cool. And the money we raised has gone to some really good causes. So we've established a goat project at a school in Uganda. It's to help them become more self-sufficient, so they can, sell the goats to make money for their school, so they don't need continual support. And funded a physiotherapist in orphanages in Vietnam for disabled children, and started a women's empowerment program at a community centre in Peru.
Wow.
Yeah, that's just some of the things we do, yeah.
Was it the funds from New Zealand? That's where they went?
Yeah, some of them are from New Zealand, some of them from overseas. But when hosts sign up, they have the choice of picking where their funds go, so it can go to the women's empowerment cause, the orphan and vulnerable children cause, or greatest need.
Cool. This is really cool. I'm actually really excited. I'm going to throw a dinner party. So what's your involvement with all this?
My main role is I'm a host mentor, so I'm there to give hosts support when they sign up and through the whole process, really to make it as easy for them as possible. So it's just a fun experience. So that's the whole idea. We're really about having a good time, being social, doing something that makes an impact, but having fun while you do it.
Okay, and you also hold distribution trips. What are these?
Yeah, so twice a year we go to 2 different countries. This year we went to Kenya and Peru, and the idea is that you can go along and you can see where the funds are going. You go to the projects, you meet the people, you know, you see it all at a ground level, which is really great. You can get involved really personally with what's happening.
Okay, so have you had the opportunity to do this yourself?
I haven't yet, but I'm hoping to go. And our executive director's actually in Peru at the moment.
Okay.
She's hiking up Machu Picchu to raise funds.
Wow.
Yeah, and then she's doing the distribution trip in Peru as well. So they're going to go see the community centre and visit some orphanages as well.
Okay, so Eat So They Can. Why did you get involved with it?
When I came across it, I just thought it was a really, really new take on the appeals for developing countries. Like, you know, you see so many campaigns. I think what makes us different is that we're really positive, we're really enthusiastic, and that's what it's about.
Okay, and so what else do you do during the day? Is this your full-time job?
It's not my full-time job.
Okay.
I also am finishing off a degree in development studies.
Okay.
But this is definitely something I'd want to get into. It's such a great campaign.
Okay.
It's really infectious. Everyone who hears about it thinks it's a great idea because it's so different.
So what are you doing this year for your hosting duties?
I think this year I'm going to do a potluck dinner and have everyone bring a bit of a dish and a donation, and then hoping to organise a charity karaoke night. So we'll see how that goes.
In Lower Hutt, right?
Yeah, in Wellington.
Oh, fun. Okay, so Eat So They Can. How can we find out more information?
You can visit our website, which is eatsotheycan.org, and on there's links to everything. We've got a Facebook, Twitter, blog, that sort of thing. And it's really easy to get in contact with us, and someone will follow up with you pretty much immediately and give you a call or send them an email, anything like that.
All right, sounds good. Fiona, thanks so much for coming on the programme.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Now I'd like to introduce Tony from St John. Good to have you on City Life.
It's good to be here, Kaneda.
Now tell me about the ambulance service. How has it been coping since February?
Well, I think it's safe to say that along with the rest of Christchurch, it's been quite a challenging time for St John and Christchurch. What with the advent of February and the large loss of life, coupled with our own misfortune about losing some of our buildings. As I say, it's been quite challenging for us as an organisation over that period.
How have the staff been coping?
I think the staff have been coping really well. They've had their moments like everyone else. Our St John family in Christchurch have at least 30 people that have houses red stickered, so they haven't been immune from the trials that we've all had. We've had significant support from outside of Christchurch, from our St John family throughout New Zealand. So we, along with our sister services, we actually brought in staff to relieve our own Christchurch staff during that period of time, and that finished at the end of June. So we're back to business as usual in Christchurch. So where people are picking things up, and we're moving on as we go forward.
How are the frontline personnel? I mean, the ones that were there on the day in February 22nd in the ambulances, how are they? Do they need counselling after that? Look,
yes, they saw some significant trauma, and had to obviously deal to the dying and the dead. And that's not a thing that sits lightly on people over time. And we've actually employed a number of different ways to support our staff affected by that, using such organisations as EAP, our own internal support mechanisms. So we've really worked really hard to ensure that our staff have been supported in a number of ways. I mean, the Mad Butcher's been very kind to us.
Just about to say
Absolutely.
that. Yeah.
And there's some more people going to Auckland on the weekend to actually have a host by him.
Yeah.
We've also had many offers of holiday homes out from outside of Christchurch, which our staff have availed to. So the support's been overwhelming in relation to the community, to us.
I was going to say, I saw him on the news the other night at your premises there at St John, but he also took us up from CTV to Auckland to spend the weekend with him as well.
Yes,
so...
he's been absolutely magnificent, and he's truly a philanthropic man, and is a laugh alongside too.
Oh man, he is a funny guy.
Very funny.
Now, some of your stations have been out of action.
Yes.
So how have you been coping with that?
Again, that's brought its unique challenges. Significantly, our station in the east, our Wainoni station, is currently red stickered. So we're not able to operate from that station. Our police colleagues have kindly allowed us to cohabitate with them at New Brighton.
Oh, cool.
So it's really important that we actually had a point out that side of town to operate from. and we're actually operating a four-wheel drive vehicle as a rapid response unit and an ambulance in that area because of the terrain and the road states at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
At the moment, what are the types of calls that you're responding to?
Well, I think we've gone through a number of different categories of types of calls. Initially, after February 22nd, there was a significant amount of cardiac events, anxiety issues. We're still obviously dealing with the aftermath of people's heightened awareness of those, so there is still some calls that we're attending on that nature, but in a whole we've generally got back to our normal working patterns, normal types of categories. Of course, the snow the other day presented us with some unique problems, but notwithstanding that, things have settled down. Probably the biggest thing for us at the moment is the roads and how long it's taking us to get around. So that does affect our performance to some degree, but we've got a lot of vehicles out there, so we're still obviously able to deliver a good service with the community.
What has the feedback been from the community? Have they been supporting you in any way?
Well, look, the feedback from the community has been particularly overwhelming, from offers of goods to my staff endlessly receiving cakes and that, and which is obviously maybe have a potential waistline issue.
Yeah, it's the same here actually.
Yeah. But the support has been overwhelming from the community to St John. Obviously, you realise that St John has been named #1 organisation ahead of Dowell and Whittaker's chocolate recently.
Congratulations!
So we're very pleased with that. I mean, it's pleasing to note that we have that confidence of the community for the job that we do, and we're proud to do it.
Right, yeah. I know you all are, and your frontline staff and the rest of the staff are just amazing.
Absolutely.
Now, what's the main focus at right now for St John?
The main focus for us is to, again, retain the use of our buildings, because those buildings were not just placed intermittently, they're strategically placed to cater for the different workload dynamics around those areas. So it's very important that we get back to normality in relation to that. We also are focusing on the rebuilding, when we can, of a new regional headquarters in Christchurch, but that's put on the back burner at the moment. I think from us, it's actually to build confidence and strength in our staff to keep delivering the service that we're doing in Christchurch and have been doing all through the earthquakes. As I say, there's been some challenges, so just moving ahead, I suppose, for us and carrying on with the work that we do.
Yeah, Tony, thanks so much for coming on the programme.
Absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much for what St John does for the community.
We're very happy to serve.
After the break, we catch up with Bevan James Eyles. You're back with City Life, and so is Bevan James Eyles, here to talk to us about health and fitness.
It's how I roll.
It's how you roll.
It's like you're singing.
Yeah, that's right. I was just saying to you, you need to take some vocal zone for your throat.
I teach classes, obviously, and when you get a touch of the flu, and you kind of yell a lot when you teach, so sometimes I get a crusty throat. So.
Perhaps you should project more rather than yelling.
Yeah, I like yelling. It's a bit more aggressive, you know.
Yeah. Now, last time you were here, we were talking about the Get Up to 5, the running program, and I've actually got a few people from CTV.
Nice, you've got a team happening, have you?
Yeah.
Nice.
So we'll be there.
So just for the people who don't know about Get Up to 5, it's a 8-week program that gets people walking from walking to running 8 weeks. Coaches, education, seminars, everything that makes the package. So the website is getup to5.co.nz.
It is, because we've been checking it out. Yeah. Now today, you're going to give us some tips on the little things we can do to improve our fitness.
It was really interesting. I just had a bit of insight. I don't really watch TV, which is kind of ironic coming on here talking about this, but I don't actually watch TV at all, really. And I went down south a few weeks ago and hung out with some friends, and they had one of those sky boxes. What are they called? You know, where you don't have ads? My Sky? Yeah. And it's pretty cool, isn't it? You know, you don't have to watch TV ads, and I'm sure the channels hate that, but, you know, like, it's an interesting device. And so we sat down to watch some TV, and what was really interesting is that we didn't get up at all. So for like 3 hours, we just sat down because you don't have ads. You know what I mean? And it was really interesting how once you had a device that allowed you to remove ads, you became less active. Because one thing that ads do make you do often is get up and do something.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? You know, and so like, you know, the ads come on, so you get up, you make a cup of coffee, or you might go to the toilet, or you might just kind of do something. But and this experience that I had, with my limited experience of having a My Sky box, was that we became more inactive through this device that it had in our life. And it made me think of some of the things in your life. What are the things in your life that are making you less active in the things that you're doing? And then with those things, what are some rules that we can put around them to actually just add little bits of bursts of energy each day? So the common example is, use the stairs instead of the lift, things like that. And what we want to start looking at is, because really it is just how much energy do you use in your day, and for people who are looking for weight loss or just a little bit more kind of energy output, there's some of doing those things that all help towards that, output of energy at the end of the day. So I think, where I want to go with this is look at your day and look at some of the rules that you have around little bursts of energy. So it can be, or I always use the stairs instead of jumping on the lift at work. Every air break, even if you've got a My Sky, if there's an air break, you stop up, or every 2 air breaks, you kind of set some rules around this. Yeah. Because you can kind of see how it's almost like our world is conditioning us to become more lazy without us, subconsciously knowing it. Yeah. So I think
it's true.
Yeah.
Actually, you spoke to Natalie Slade, the production assistant here for City Life, yesterday about this, and she was getting up and walking around a lot, and then she explained why she's doing that. So
really?
You've really encouraged her to do it.
Go Natalie. Well, but it really is, and I think the thing is that it was interesting because I don't watch TV. I don't tend to sit on the couch for 3 hours.
City Life?
Oh, every day. Yeah, I actually go on YouTube and watch it on there. So,
good.
And but yeah, so it was interesting being an outsider coming into that world and just noticing how long I was sitting here. I said, I've really sat here for nearly 3.5 hours non-stop.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
For you, that must have been
well, no,
agitating.
I not that I mind sitting down, but for me, it was really fascinating to think that new device has made us more lazy. And so where in your day have you become lazy, just in some of the things that you may have done in the past differently? Okay. And it can be through transportation, that can be through things around the house. And then in those times where maybe you've become lazy without knowing it, what are some things that you can add in place to, if you work your computer all day, they say, have a yellow dot at your computer desk so you think about posture, or set a timer on your computer for every half an hour, you get up and walk around. It's just those little things which helps us be a little bit more active in your day.
Okay, what are the benefits, I guess, of not sitting around all the time?
Well, that's the problem, is that we are becoming more inactive, and ultimately I want you exercising, I want you getting out the door and actually doing exercise that's conditioning you in a stronger way. But also those little bits of energy actually make a big difference in your day. They say that the average person walks between 3 to 6 k's a day just in getting around, and so the more we remove those little steps, that goes down to then 1 or 2 k's, and that's just more energy output that you're not doing. And so the benefit is, it's not going to be that you're going to get hugely fit, but it's more that you're not decreasing your fitness or your conditioning, that little bit more. And so, yeah.
Oh, it's definitely something to think about. I've actually never thought about that, the whole getting rid of ads and not walking around. So
yeah, well, I just think, look at your life and look at the small times where you can actually get up and do something, and just putting some markers around that, because, we are getting more inactive, you know what I mean? Our world is making it easy for us just to sit down, and while that's good to a point, we need to make sure we kind of have the opposite of that as well.
Exactly. So. Okay, bevanjameseyles.com and also getup5.co.nz. Yes.
Yeah.
All right, we'll be there.
Sweet.
On the program, Ruth Todd to talk about The Money Map. Now, what did you think of this book?
Well, Martin Hawes is quite an amazing guy. I mean, he brought out these books on financial advice. I think he's done 19 or 20 books now.
Gosh.
And they keep coming out, and they make good sense, they really do. And he's done books on family trusts, books on everything.
Okay.
And this one, The Money Map, it's kind of a combination, I feel, of quite a lot of the other topics, because he does summaries, really, of all those topics that he's done individual books on. And he's probably the most popular financial advisor in the country because of his books. He speaks well, he promotes himself well, so he's done very, very well with his books. And it all makes sense. I just have one little quibble, not a quibble, but he's sort of expecting people to have some money left over after they've paid for the groceries and done all the things.
Right.
And everybody doesn't at the moment, especially at the moment. And so, it's kind of a book for people who... But having said that, it's also a book for people who probably need to do some planning too, because we can all just live day to day and not think ahead. And he is suggesting that we sit down, preferably with a financial advisor or with someone who's neutral, and kind of look a bit ahead, 5 years, 10 years, or we can just drift on. And I think that's really good advice, and whether people follow it or not. But he does suggest that we imagine the future, have a dream or two, and then look at what's possible and, you know, do our assets, if we've got many, and our liabilities. And do we want the flashiest house in the street, or are we content with a less expensive house and then have some money left over for other things? Because he does emphasise quite a bit that your house shouldn't be your only investment, that you shouldn't put all your money into your house. So there's really useful information in this book to think about, and that family trusts aren't for everybody, because they have become very popular, and he questions that. So, you know, I really like it.
So do you think you'll put this to good use?
I'm probably getting too old and to do too much about this now, especially when I haven't got a house at the moment. But
you're in the red zone.
I'm sort of on the hill, waiting to know what's happening. But he's also, you know, emphasising the fact that we should live within our incomes, and that's pertinent to New Zealanders.
Yeah, I think so as well.
Who get into debt. So, you know, and he gives good examples, like if you're spending $12 a day or a week, or no, a day I think it was, on coffee or lunch every day and not cutting your own sandwich, then you could have saved, in 10 years, you could have saved $60,000 on that $12 a day. So, I mean, I don't think like that, and I think that's really a wake-up call to many of us who just think $10 isn't very much
it's nothing.
Have for
what
lunch.
A great... That's a good point.
Isn't that a good point?
Because I think nothing of buying a coffee.
No.
Wow.
And so and I think the other good thing, because I'm always an optimist, and I probably don't believe in planning too far ahead, because some people worry too much about the future. That's the other extreme, isn't it?
Certainly.
But he says, you know, have sub-goals, have targets for what you want. What kind of lifestyle do you want? So think about that, and don't be tied up with the neighbours and what they have and what you have to have, because that happens too.
Yes.
And kids, if you're going to have kids, how are you going to plan for them? So just almost the old story of putting money in different jars, which my mother used to do.
I used
there
to
was one for the groceries, and he thinks that's a really good idea. You've got your phone bill, your power bill, you know, and you've got to have a little reward once a month. You know, so really doing a little bit more. Not spending all the money and suddenly not having enough for any bread at the weekend, but planning it out. And so it's a very readable, accessible book, and that's what he does so well.
I like his envelopes idea, because when I lived in London, that's certainly what I did to get by. But okay, so we have 3 copies of the Money Map to give away. People can email me, kaneta@ctv.co.nz, to put yourself in the draw, or you can give Marianne a call, 3777 033. Now tell me, first, before we wrap up, how's Plains FM going?
Well, Plains FM, and I hate to say this when I know you people have done amazingly, and in this you know, makeshift studio that feels so wonderful, but Plains have waited a long, long time for their renovations, and they started before the earthquake. And they were very lucky not to be affected by the earthquake, and so the renovations have finished now. And in that small space, which was pretty grotty, getting pretty grotty, is now looking a bit like this, with, you know, clean paint on the walls and twice the amount of space, it seems, because it's been redone.
Okay,
so,
and when are you on air?
Women on Air is going very well, 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, and I'm talking to Ruth Sanker from the Broadcasting School about the future of television in New Zealand, and TV7 particularly.
Interesting.
Public broadcasting.
All right.
So I'm looking forward to talking with her.
Ruth, always good to catch up with you, and thanks for reviewing the Money Map for us. Now that is City Life for today. You can get in touch with us, connetta@ctv.co.nz. You can call us 3777 033, or you can write to us, PO Box 1100 Christchurch. You can of course watch all City Life episodes on demand. Go to ctv.co.nz and click on the big YouTube logo and you'll find all our episodes there. And we are on Facebook, CTV's City Life. Thanks for watching and we'll see you tomorrow.